Not only was the 2010s a time of growth and discovery, but it was also the revival of the early eras.
There have been such high advancements in technology, in which influence like many scientists on creating new researches and experiments to help in the medical field. Well, for instance, there was the discovery of neural stem cells through the experiment of adult mice with multiple sclerosis. So what this disease does is it attacks the central nervous system. But what the scientists did was they took skin cells from the mice and they reprogrammed it into neural stem cells. And then once they implemented back into the mice through the CSF, the cerebrospinal fluid, it helped reduce the inflammation and also repair damages in the central nervous system from what have done by the disease. So through this groundbreaking discovery, scientists have had become innovative on trying to implement this into human beings, in which they would try to reprogram our nervous system or like our cells to fight against foreign diseases once they have entered our body. Like for instance, like maybe cancer cells. I mean, it's nearly impossible as of right now, but like in the future, there might be a possibility in which we can reprogram our cells to fight against cancer cells. Okay, so poverty is a rising issue in the past 10 years, and essentially poverty can actually negatively affect our social perspective and our economical view of a country. Like country that's in poverty usually lead to in a social point of view, in which there will be less participation in society, it will be more or less efficient, there will be exclusion of individuals, insecurity, powerlessness. That's how people feel, and they will be felt towards down, leading to they just feel alone, you know. And then in economical regards, in which they would have usually in poor areas, they would have no education, no job, they won't even be able to obtain land to grow their own food. So basically poverty is a rising issue, and it should be solved. Hopefully it would be solved. So in our next news segment, we're going to have Michiko talking about
November 6,
politics.
2012, Barack Obama wins a significant victory, 332 votes to 206 for his second term in office against the Republican challenger and businessman Mitt Romney. In November 28, 2016, Donald Trump, a billionaire businessman from New York with no political or military experience, wins a surprising election over Democratic challenger and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, the woman to run the highest office from a major party. For political news, in 2015, U.S. Supreme Court allows same-sex marriage. Same-sex marriage in the United States was established on a state-by-state basis, expanding from one state in 2004 to 36 states in 2015. Same-sex marriage was established in all 50 states as a result of the ruling of the Supreme Court of the United States. It was held that the right of same-sex couples to marry on the same terms and conditions as opposite-sex couples. While in 2017, U.S. adopts forward policy in the Middle East and Asia. U.S. bombs Syrian airbase in response to Syrian government chemical attack on civilians, deciding to arm Kurdish forces and destroying an Islamic State cave network in Afghanistan. President Trump warns North Korea that it could face military retaliation if it continues nuclear tests. Now, for military and economic news, Airacel.
12, fighting spreads to Aleppo, Syria's largest city and its former commercial capital. April 6, 2017, the U.S. fired a barrage of cruise missiles into Syria Thursday night in retaliation for this week's gruesome chemical weapons attack against civilians, U.S. officials said.
Allahu Akbar! A Syrian bomber dropped its deadly payload over homes in a residential area near Damascus. Seconds later, the bombs explode, unleashing chaos on the streets and sending a plume of fire and smoke into the sky. The amateur footage, said to have been shot in the town of Yabrud, later shows the scene of devastation wrought by the airstrike, with homes and shops reduced to rubble. Whether it was intended or not, the target appears to have been a residential apartment block.
In economic news, stock market crash. In August 8, 2011, since July 22, when Republicans abandoned debt negotiations with the White House for the third time that month, the index has lost $2.9 trillion in value. Stocks did rally after the last big sell-off following the financial crisis of 2008. For some religious happenings, Hannah.
Religion in the United States is very diverse, ranging from different religious beliefs and practices which flourished throughout the years. A majority of Americans said that religion plays a very important role in their lives. In the early 2011s, the majority of U.S. adults self-identify as Christians, while around 20 to 25% claim no religious affiliation. And now, Christine for cultural and social updates.
Have been defined by skater fashion, streetwear, and the revival of the early decades. In the early 2010s, many late 2000s fashion trends remained popular, especially the indie pop and grunge look. Hipster subculture and the thrift shop look had a considerable impact upon mainstream fashion. EDM, indie, and trap see mainstream success throughout the 2010s. R&B and hip-hop rose to prominence again during the early 2010s and have remained popular forms of music ever since. In addition, some popular trends and fads include fidget spinners, kendamas, dabs, bottle flips, etc.
Oh, still killed the one. Oh, Max, don't, you almost fall. Go ahead, Max. Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, Lord have mercy.
And that's all the time we have for today. Stay tuned.